Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Fletcher Nelson. I'm a third grade teacher in Minnesota, and I've been trying to kind of vlog my teaching journey through this pandemic this year. This week's a short week with Thanksgiving, so I thought it'd be a good time just to maybe do some hybrid tips for teachers. This is our 5th week in hybrid, and so I've found some things that work well, some things that didn't, so I thought it'd be a good time to reflect and share out some of that information. I know there's some schools who are moving to hybrid after the new year and who maybe have been distance learning. And I also know that there's some of you guys who maybe were in person and are moving to hybrid, so everyone just kind of seems to keep shifting. So if you're moving to hybrid and haven't been, hopefully these tips will help you out, and if you are in hybrid, maybe it'll be something new you can try. And of course, I don't know it all, so if you have any tips for me, leave them in the comments and let me know what has worked well for you for hybrid learning. So here we go. Let's get started with some tips for hybrid learning. My first tip is to try to do as much of the work as you can paper pencil. Since you do see your students throughout the week, you're able to give materials for them. In order to keep this kind of organized, I do 2 things that I'm going to show you. One is I tab their notebooks, that way they can respond in certain sections, and then it's easy for me to check it when they bring it back the following day. The other thing I do is I give them a paper checklist, and I staple all their stuff together for that day. I staple it all together, that way they don't lose anything, and it's easy for me when I'm prepping it, that way to stick that whole packet into their folder and they have all the materials they'll need. So I'll show you what that looks like for me. This is what my student's notebook looks like. I just made these tabs on PowerPoint. I just made a rectangle shape, and then I put the text on half and then just taped them in. So the different tabs I have are books I've read, books I want to read, writing about reading, reading lessons, article of the day, and then letters. So then they will respond in certain places. So if they're, and I tell them where to respond, so it's easy for me to find it. But if they're responding just to a question about a book, like one of our read alouds, that's in the writing about reading. If they're applying a skill we learned during a mini lesson, it'd be under that tab, obviously. We read an article every day from Read Works, so they respond to it in that section. And then their letters are, sometimes they'll write letters to me or family members about the books they're reading, so that would go into that section. So these tabs make it super easy for me to check their work when they bring it back. This is what their work for each day looks like. So this group is here on Monday. They're in school. So on Tuesday, they will be working on the lessons that we did, work for the lessons that we did today. And then obviously on Wednesday, they are distance as well. So I have their checklist here. Every day they need to do read a self, and we just have a reading calendar, reading log that they mark that on. Their reading assignment, it says listen to Jabari, it's linked on Seesaw. And their reading notebook, they're gonna complete the setting chart. It's in the lessons tab of notebook for Jumanji, and they're gonna do it for the book they're reading. So that tells them where to do it, the lessons tab. For some of this, I do print off charts and then just tape it in there. So let me show you. For this one, for this setting chart, it's exactly from our lesson. So they just put that in there today. So we talked about the time and the place. So they're gonna do it for Jumanji, and then they'll also put it in for the book that they're reading. That's in the lessons tab, so it'll be easy for me to check to make sure they do it when they bring it back. Okay. But yeah, I just give what the assignment is and where they'll show their work. So article of the day, it's in their folder, it's in this packet stapled in there, so they read it and then respond in their reading notebook. So yeah, and I have a stapleless stapler I got on Amazon, so I just use that to bind together for the day. That way when I'm doing it, I know they didn't lose their math sheet or something. So they can rip this apart when they get home, but at least I know they have everything when they leave school. If they lose it at home or forget it at home, that's on them, but at least when it's put together like this, it's easy for them to tell which work is for which day, and it won't get separated on their way home, if that made sense. I didn't start off doing the paper checklists, but I found that it helps them. That way they don't always have to keep going onto their computer. Now they do have Chromebooks that they bring home, but having to go back and forth, I don't know, it's just as easier if they have a paper copy they can physically cross off when they're done doing stuff. So I'm trying to do it as much on paper and pencil as I can when they're at home. That way they don't need to sit and stare at a screen all day. All right, so tabbing the notebooks and then doing as much paper work as possible and binding it together like that with a checklist has helped me a ton. And honestly, it's helped them be more likely to bring back their work because they are crossing it off and they're making sure they do it and they know exactly where to do it. So I can't even remember now what I said the first tip was, but right there we kind of covered 3. Tab your notebooks, as much paper copies as possible, staple them together, checklist. 4 tips right there. Okay, my next one would be, if you can, try to have one folder and one notebook for every student that is specifically their distance or their hybrid learning folder that's going back and forth every day, and try to make them be all the same color. It worked out well on our back to school list. We always do colored folders, usually for subject. I just chose them. All your red notebooks and your red folders are going to be your distance learning, or your hybrid learning. They ended up, notebooks was hard because that one we didn't do colored ones. We just had one composition notebook and one spiral notebook. So I just went to Walmart and bought them. They were like 64 cents, and I made sure they all had a red one. And this one specifically for hybrid learning to go back and forth. They still have their ones that they'll keep at school. But it was just too much, like when some kids were grabbing the wrong notebook or this or that. So them now all knowing it's their red one has helped. So that's another tip. Try to, if possible, keep it all the same color. That way you can just be like, grab your red notebook and folder and put it in your backpack, and they have it. So that's tip number 2, and I will show you this more with tip number 3. When you're getting your stuff ready to send home, have piles on your back table where they can just grab it. That way you make sure they get everything. So when they come to school for me, they put everything on the back table. And then when they go to music and gym, I go through everything, make sure they did it, and then I stuff their folders. Then I know they could do it, but I have 3rd grade, and I just, like I said, I want to make sure it's all there. So at that time I just stuff their folders, I lay it all out, and at the end of the day I watch them grab it just to make sure it does not get left behind. So I will show you exactly what that looks like for me. Somebody asked me at one time on Instagram, like, aren't you worried about touching their stuff or whatever? And at least we've been told the likelihood of COVID being transferred through like contact like that is very low. So I just use hand sanitizer before and after, and obviously the kids, I mean, when they get home, hopefully, are washing their hands and have a good hand hygiene anyways. But I mean, we're in a classroom together, so we're clearly touching the same stuff throughout the day. So we've just been practicing good hand hygiene. So like I said, I use hand sanitizer before and after, and I obviously have to take their stuff out of their folders, and then I do stuff them in. But this is what it looks like throughout the day until the end of the day. This is what my back table looks like. I honestly, once I get everything ready when they're at music and gym, I leave it like this until the end of the day. The reason why is I already checked their notebooks to make sure they had everything done. I already took all their worksheets out of it when they brought them back, and I stuffed their new ones. And this way I can make sure they grab it off the table on their way out and that it's in their backpacks and they don't accidentally leave it behind. So for example, this is their tab notebook I already showed you. I made these labels just by printing on shipping labels. And in their folder, they have the checklist and copies for Tuesday then, their Wednesday one, and they have some extra paper back there. And this will bring me into my next tip. My next tip is to have opportunities for your students to do if they finish stuff early. So what I do is I try to print it all on pink paper, that way they know it's not required. But I have been trying to do some books, so I printed off some Reading A to Z books and the worksheets that go with it. So that one goes with there. I do usually do a week checklist for the opportunities as well, so they know what is in here. This is just some multiplication, introduction packet, and then an addition and subtraction review worksheet. So again, this is optional stuff. They do not have to do it, but I like having paper opportunities in there in case they finish early, since they're working at home and a lot of their parents are still working at home. So this allows for them to, do some extra work that they want to, but it's not like I'm overloading the kids, and because some kids, the amount of work I give them every day takes a full day, so I don't need to add more pressure onto them. All right, so that's kind of how I send home the work with them and how I organize that, just so they get everything home, they know what to do and they know where to do it, and it makes it easy for me when they bring it back. I can separate their math worksheets and their word work into piles, and in their reading notebooks I can easily flip through and check their assignments in those different tabs. The next tip I have is to have a way for students to access directions again. And we use Seesaw for school. We have like the paid membership of Seesaw. So I use that as a way to let them access directions again. So I'll show you what that looks like for me. This is what the Seesaw activity that I assign to my students every day looks like. Like I said, I'm trying to have them do as much as they can on paper and pencil, but I want them to have a way to access directions if they forget what to do. I will every once in a while have an assignment for them to do on Seesaw as well, but almost everything's been paper or pencil. So when they open up this checklist, I have a morning message to them just as a couple reminders. So like if they need to bring their library books back or something like that, so they can watch that. And let's say they forgot what to do for word work. They can just click on word work and it's going to bring them to that page. And then I just have a quick video here that gives them the directions again. In this template, we also have recommended amount of time of how long it should take. Again, this is just if parents wanted to kind of structure out their day like a school day, they could. They don't have to follow this, but it's there in case they wanted it. Originally, when we first started hybrid, I only had our checklist on Seesaw, but my students were telling me that it was annoying to have to go always look at Seesaw to know what to do next when a lot of it was paper and pencil. So that's when I started doing the paper checklist too. I just left the same template and then I just quickly record a quick video for the day so they can listen to it if they forget what they need to do. If you use Seesaw, it's super easy just to click the camera button within Seesaw and quickly record a video of yourself to give those directions on each slide. And it's nice because I just do it and it'll be used for 2 days. So my directions that I recorded for my kids that are in class today, they'll listen to those and we'll have those for tomorrow. And my other group will have them for next Monday. So it's not like I have to do it every single day. I just have to make one and it gets to be used for both groups. So that's been super helpful. Like I said, some kids might not need to reference those videos, but a lot of them have forgotten, especially with math. I can quickly do an example problem for whatever they're supposed to do at home just to refresh their memory if they forgot. Or with our word work, sometimes they're sorting by consonant blend, sometimes it's by the vowel sound, sometimes it's by the number of syllables. So if they forget what to do, it can just be a good way for them to, refresh their memory, and they don't have to just tell their parents, I don't know what to do, and they don't have to message me asking for directions then. So it kind of helps me, since when my kids are here, I'm trying to focus on them as much as possible and not have to, be distracted by messaging and giving directions again. So it has definitely helped out doing that. All right, let's see here. So those ones have kind of covered students when they're at home and how to get how I prep their work for them and how I organize it to make sure they don't forget anything, and the directions. Another thing that I did that has been super helpful is I sent home a big baggie of materials with like pencils, glue sticks, whiteboard markers, and old whiteboards I had that can just stay at home. I don't want back. That way they didn't have to worry about transporting supplies back and forth. So that also has been big because they don't have to tell me, oh, I didn't have this at home. I know exactly what's there. Or I sent blank paper. So even if they told me they had it, I said, I don't care, just bring it home anyways because you'll have extra now. So that's another thing, another tip I have for you. And another one, if you use quite a few websites, and if you have student devices, what I did is on their Chromebooks, I again took those shipping labels and I printed off all their logins and I stuck that right inside their Chromebook. That way if they're at home and have extra time and want to do math facts or go on Prodigy or listen to a book on Epic, they have all their logins there and they don't have to worry about remembering it or forgetting it. And then again, it just helps me because it's one less thing for me to get questions about during the day when I'm trying to focus on my kids who are here in person. So again, nothing really earth-shattering. They're just little things that have helped me and has gone well for me. It's made the transition quite a bit easier. Yeah. Throughout the week, this is how I organize my copies. So I have my bins for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're full distance on Friday, so that means I just get candy. So tomorrow, my kids who are here on Tuesday, this is the stuff I need. This is their stuff for Wednesday, because of everyone's distance, and then they're also distanced the following Monday. So there's all my copies for them. This is what they'll put into their notebook. So I have that copy there, and I just leave it here. That way I know exactly what to give them. My last tip for you is you need to realize you cannot grade every single assignment that students are going to be doing on their at-home day. It's just not physically possible. We don't have enough time in the day, especially when we only see them twice a week. During our prep, we have stuff to be, prepping for. So don't feel pressured to always grade every single assignment that they bring back. I'm trying not to make it busy work, like it's meaningful work. They're responding, they're writing about reading, they're making connections to books, but I just know I can't look at every single one of those things. So keep that in mind and don't feel pressured that you need to grade and send every little thing home. Pick and choose every day and go from there. Again, another thing, like when they're working at home, you don't really know how much help they're getting from a sibling or a family member, or if they're doing it all on their own. I see some of my students who struggle with some of the math at school really well, like a lot, and then they're getting them all completely right at home, which is great. But then when they're struggling doing it here, that's telling me that they're probably getting some help at home, maybe more telling what to do than, you know, guidance. I don't know. And I'm not there, so that's why I'm not gonna really worry about it a whole lot. Like, they have to be doing it at home. That's just what happens during the pandemic. But I'm not gonna base everything off of what they're doing at home. So that's what I mean, like, don't grade it all, because who knows what's going on. Or maybe there's someone there who doesn't have any help at all and they're really confused, and yeah, you get it. So long story short, don't feel like you need to grade everything. That's kind of what I have for you though. So hopefully some of those tips helped. Again, nothing crazy or brand new, but just some things that have worked well for me and helped me stay organized, and has been pretty, have seen my kids bring back most of their work complete, so it's helped them as well. All right, again, if you have tips for me or suggestions for me, leave them below, because this is new to all of us and some people have some great ideas. So can't wait to hear what you are currently doing, and if you're moving to hybrid, I hope this helped you. All right, thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Bye.